August 13th, 1986. A broiling summer afternoon in Williamson County, Texas. Michael Morton, a day after his 32nd birthday, was returning home from work when he pulled into his driveway, only to find the flashing lights of police cars, his house sealed off with yellow tape, and police officers investigating what looked like a gruesome crime scene. Something terrible had happened. Upon entering the house, Michael anxiously called out for his wife, Christine, and their 3-year-old son, Eric. As he approached the bedroom, he saw a crowd of officers gathered around the bed, snapping photos of a body. It was Christine, laying motionless, partially covered by a white sheet and a blue suitcase resting on top. Blood spattered the walls and ceiling. She had been bludgeoned to death, multiple blows to the head with a hard object. Everybody, including Michael, was completely in shock over what had happened. But something wasn't adding up. There was no sign of forced entry. Not much had been stolen. Even the jewelry in the bedroom was untouched. Slowly, 2 vital questions began to surface in everyone's mind. Who was the killer? And what was their motive? After a while, Michael was arrested by police based on evidence at the crime scene, including a note he left for his wife and a baton found in his car. Interviews with neighbors also claimed Michael had been abusive toward his wife on many occasions. However, some crucial evidence was neglected, like a bloody bandana found in the backyard by Christine's brother. Let's jump back to the night of the murder. After coming back from Michael's birthday dinner, Michael invited Christine to watch an adult movie together, but it seemed that Christine was not in the mood. That upset Michael, and they went to bed. In the morning, he left a note in the kitchen. "I love you. I want us to be close. Let's talk." The door opens, and he leaves for work. But a few minutes later, the door opens again. Before his arrest, all Michael could think about was Eric, hoping he hadn't been traumatized by the events of that day. Eric had been in the house at the time of the murder, but he was so young that Michael believed he wouldn't remember anything. But one day, Eric said something that shocked him. While looking towards the bathroom door, he said, "Dad, that's where the creepy guy was standing, right, Dad?" Michael was stunned. Eric went on to describe what he had seen. Although he didn't witness the murder itself, many of the details he shared matched the police report. Still, Michael feared that involving Eric in the investigation would only cause more harm, so he kept it to himself. Later, Eric had a similar conversation with his grandmother, which was documented by the police. Neighbors had also reported seeing a suspicious green van parked near the house that day. If these clues had been taken seriously or even shared with Michael's defense team, the case might have gone in an entirely different direction. About a year later, Michael's court trial was held. Ken Anderson, the district attorney for Williamson County at the time, prosecuted the case against Michael Morton. He firmly believed Michael was the killer, and the case wasn't treated with openness. Anderson seemed determined to close it quickly. The idea of an unknown killer didn't fit the story he wanted to tell, and in a system more focused on winning than seeking the truth, Michael Morton became the easy answer. His statements painted a grim picture of Michael's motive in the minds of everyone, especially the jury. Among the evidence presented was the adult videotape Michael had rented the night of the murder. Anderson portrayed it as a proof of depravity, suggesting that after being rejected sexually, Michael raped and killed his wife. But nearly everyone who knew Michael and Christine personally said such an act was impossible for him. Despite the efforts of Michael's defense team, they couldn't convince the jury otherwise. So he was sentenced to life, sitting in his windowless concrete cell, just 5 by 9 feet, so small he could touch both walls by extending his arms. Inside the prison, located in Tennessee Colony, Texas. Michael knew he wasn't the killer. But harder than anything else was not seeing his son Eric. He was only allowed short visits every 6 months. Eric was just a child, and over time, he started to forget the life they once had. Michael knew those visits, though they were everything he looked forward to, were difficult for a kid. So during one visit, he told Eric and Christine's sister, who was taking care of him, "I do not want to force you to visit me, but you're always welcome." Throughout the 90s, Michael quietly served his sentence, still holding firmly to his innocence. From day one, he was treated as a criminal, yet he never gave up on what he knew to be true. While in prison, he continued his education, and those around him, fellow inmates and staff, often spoke highly of his character. All those years, he never stopped trying. Despite countless setbacks, he continued to file appeals and motions, though every one of them was denied. One possible key to solving the case had been there all along: the bandana found near the scene, long dismissed by police as irrelevant. It's important to remember that in 1987 and for much of the 1990s, DNA testing wasn't advanced enough to make a difference in court. But now, with science catching up, it finally felt the right time. With so many critical pieces of evidence neglected, the bandana and what it might reveal was now the only hope left. In 2005, the Innocence Project began investigating Morton's case at the request of Michael's lawyers. The Innocence Project is a non-profit legal organization that works to exonerate wrongfully convicted people through DNA testing and reform the criminal justice system to prevent future injustices. They discovered that the blood-stained bandana had never been tested for DNA. In 2008, the Innocence Project filed a motion to test the bandana. Prosecutors, including former District Attorney John Bradley, opposed the testing, delaying the process for 3 more years. In June 2011, a court finally granted permission to test the bandana. The DNA results showed the blood belonged to Christine Morton, the victim, and Mark Allen Norwood, a convicted felon with a long criminal history. Norwood's DNA was later also matched to the unsolved 1988 murder of Deborah Baker, who was killed in a similar manner in Austin just months after Christine's death. Later that year, the new evidence was deemed overwhelming. The case was re-examined. In the October of 2011, Michael Morton was officially exonerated and walked out of prison a free man, after nearly 25 years behind bars. Justice finally turns its gaze in the right direction. Mark Allen Norwood was arrested for the brutal murder of Christine Morton. Eric Morton, now grown, began the emotional journey of reconnecting with his father. And Ken Anderson, the prosecutor who buried the truth, was brought under investigation. Texas awarded Michael Morton compensation, $80,000 for each of the 25 years he spent wrongfully imprisoned, about $2 million, plus a lifetime annuity. It was an attempt to repay what had been taken, but no payment could restore the years lost with his wife, his son, and the life that should have been. Michael Morton spent nearly 25 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, because crucial evidence was never shared with his defense. A bloody bandana found near the crime scene, witnesses who saw a suspicious van outside the house, even the words of Michael's young son, who said his father wasn't home when the murder happened. None of it made it to the courtroom. Prosecutors feared it would raise inconvenient questions in what they believed was a clear-cut case. But that choice changed and nearly destroyed a man's life. In 2013, Texas responded by passing the Michael Morton Act. The law requires prosecutors to turn over all evidence, whether it supports their case or not. Its purpose is to ensure transparency, fairness, and justice in the courtroom. It's a simple idea. Justice shouldn't rely on selective truth. It should rely on the whole truth.